What if the person you trusted most could steal your dreams? I still remember the moment my entire world shifted. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it didn't come with shouting or broken glass or some storm rolling in like you'd see in a movie. No, it came quietly, almost softly, the way the biggest betrayals usually do. It started with a single notification on my phone. Just one. A small glowing dot in the corner of my screen. Nothing special, nothing different. But the moment I opened it, the moment my eyes scanned that subject line, I felt something inside me tighten. It said, "Congratulations to Alyssa for launching her new business idea." At first, my brain didn't even understand. I blinked once, twice, I read it again, and then the truth hit me like a slow, cold wave. My idea, my work, my late nights, my planning, my dream, displayed under her name. I remember just staring at the screen, not breathing, not moving, not thinking clearly enough to even be angry yet. Only confused, only stunned. It's strange how silence can feel so loud, because in that moment, the silence around me screamed the truth. She took it. She actually took it. The world around me kept going. Cars passing outside, neighbors talking in the hallway, the hum of my fridge. But inside me, everything stopped. I felt something I can't fully describe. Not heartbreak, not anger, not disappointment, but a mix of all three. Like watching a crack crawl slowly across glass, knowing you can't stop it from spreading. You see, betrayal doesn't always hit like thunder. Sometimes it arrives like a slow leak, quiet, subtle, deadly. And that message, that announcement with her smiling face posted everywhere, was the leak that revealed everything. For a moment, I even tried to convince myself it wasn't what I thought. Maybe the title was similar. Maybe the concept wasn't the same. Maybe it was just some coincidence that happened to land on the exact week I had told her my final plan. But deep down, deep, deep down, I already knew. Because the email didn't just describe an idea. It described my idea, word for word in some places. I felt a rush of heat crawl up my arms. My fingers trembled. I set my phone down because I was afraid I might drop it. A whisper in my mind asked, "How long has she been planning this?" The more I thought about it, the heavier that question felt. Was it weeks? Months? Had she been collecting details every time I opened up to her? Every time I excitedly told her about my progress? Every time I shared something I was proud of? Was she listening as a friend or as someone waiting to take everything? The worst part wasn't even the idea being stolen. No, the worst part was realizing someone I trusted, someone I let into the closest parts of my life, had been quietly preparing to step into the spotlight using the work I poured my heart into. That realization stung more than the theft itself. I walked away from my desk and paced the room. My small apartment suddenly felt too tight, too warm, too filled with the echoes of conversations I once thought were innocent. I replayed every moment with her, every conversation, every smile she had given me. And suddenly, some of those smiles didn't look genuine anymore. Some of those compliments didn't sound the same. Some of those questions she asked now felt rehearsed. And that's when another thought hit me. What else had she taken? What else had she lied about? What other secrets were hiding behind that confident announcement? I didn't know the answers yet, but I had a feeling this was only the beginning. Because people who steal once don't usually stop at once. And people who betray quietly often have bigger plans. I went back to the email, scrolling through the long announcement. My eyes stopped on one sentence. Alyssa has worked tirelessly on developing this idea over the past few months. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. Not even a sad one. It was the kind of laugh that slips out when something hurts so deeply it almost feels unreal. Tirelessly? Her? I was the one who stayed up until 3 a.m. researching suppliers. I was the one who filled notebooks with designs and strategies. I was the one who built the entire foundation while she nodded, smiled, and said, "You're so smart, you should definitely go for it." But she didn't want me to go for it. She wanted me to build it so she could take it. And she did. Standing in my silent living room, holding my phone like it contained fire, I felt something switch inside me, a line being drawn. A line between who I was before that message and who I would have to become after. Because the moment I saw my idea stolen in front of the world, I knew something. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not quietly, not easily. Not without facing the truth she tried so desperately to hide. She thought she was clever. She thought she could play innocent. She thought I would stay silent. She didn't know yet that betrayal changes people. It wakes them up. It sharpens them. It strips away the softness and replaces it with clarity. And now, I saw her clearer than ever. This wasn't just a slip-up. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a
This was a
simple
plan.
mistake.
A deliberate betrayal crafted over time. And if she had a plan, I needed one too. I took a deep breath, closed the email, and whispered to myself, "This is the day everything shifts." Because it was. This was the day I stopped trusting the wrong people. The day I stopped ignoring the signs. The day I stopped holding back. This was the day the truth began to unravel. Her truth. My truth. The truth that would finally break her plan. And this was only the beginning. If you had told me years ago that Alyssa would one day become the center of the biggest betrayal of my life, I would have laughed. Not because the idea was impossible, but because the girl I first met seemed like the last person who would ever hurt anyone. Back then, she felt like a blessing, the kind of friend who walked into your life right when you needed one. I didn't know it then, but sometimes the people who seem the warmest are the ones who end up leaving the deepest cold. We met in one of the most ordinary places, a local coffee shop. The kind where the floors creak a little, the lights are soft, and the barista always misspells your name even when you spell it out slowly. It was a rainy afternoon. I had just finished a long day at my part-time job, exhausted and craving a quiet moment. I ordered my usual cheap latte, grabbed a corner table, pulled out my notebook, and started writing down ideas the way I always did. Scattered sentences, messy doodles, questions to myself. For me, those notes were private. They were pieces of dreams I wasn't ready to share with the world yet. I didn't expect anyone to notice, but she did. I remember the voice first. Soft, curious. Are you working on something creative? I looked up, and there she was. A girl with warm eyes, a gentle smile, and an energy that felt comforting. Her hair was a little messy from the rain, and she held her cup like it was the only warmth she had left. She asked if she could sit, and I said yes without thinking. And that tiny decision, a simple yes, would shape everything that followed. We talked for hours. It started with small talk, where we were from, what we did for work, what we wanted out of life. Then it went deeper. Dreams we were too shy to admit to the world. Fears we didn't tell most people. Ideas we had been brewing in silence. With most people, these conversations take months to happen. With her, it took less than 20 minutes. She had this way of listening that felt rare, like she wasn't just hearing your words, but absorbing them, studying them, understanding them. At least, that's what I believed back then. Looking back now, maybe she wasn't listening to understand. Maybe she was listening to collect. But in that moment, she told me about her struggles, her past heartbreaks, her fears of failing, her dreams of building something meaningful. I opened up about my business idea, the same one she would later claim as her own. But back then, sharing it with her felt natural. She made me feel supported, encouraged, safe. She would say things like, "You're brilliant. You just don't see it yet." Or, "You're onto something huge. I can feel it." Or, "When you launch this, it's going to change everything." I didn't know at the time that those compliments weren't just praise. They were steps. Steps in a plan I couldn't see yet. Our friendship grew fast, maybe too fast. She started showing up to my apartment with snacks and late-night coffees. We'd sit on my small couch, huddled under blankets, talking about ideas like we were building an empire together. We weren't. I was. But she made it feel like we. She asked questions, so many questions. How does your idea work? What's your plan for launching? Who are you targeting? Do you have the name picked out?
"Can I see your notes?" At the time, her curiosity made me smile. I thought it meant she cared. I thought it meant she believed in me. Now, when I replay those conversations, I realize she was gathering the blueprint piece by piece. But back then, taking every question as encouragement, taking every conversation as friendship, taking every smile as honesty. Isn't it strange how clear everything becomes once the damage is done? There was one moment I still think about, a moment that should have been my first warning. We were walking home after a long night of brainstorming. I had just shown her the newest version of my idea, something I had stayed up until dawn perfecting, and she said something that made me pause. She said, "You know, if you don't launch this soon, someone else might." Her tone was light, even playful, but her eyes weren't. I remember laughing it off. "Yeah, I know," I said. "I just want to make sure everything is perfect first." She nodded, smiling, but something about that moment felt different, like a tiny spark of something I couldn't name yet. Pressure, maybe? Or impatience? It was small enough to ignore. So I ignored it. I wish I hadn't. But friendship makes you blind to red flags sometimes, especially when the person in front of you feels like a good thing in your life. Alyssa became the friend I vented to, the friend I celebrated with, the friend I trusted with the things I didn't tell anyone else. She cheered me on when I doubted myself. She asked about my progress every week. She helped me brainstorm names, designs, features, everything. Or so I thought. If I had known then that she was copying each piece behind my back, writing her own version, building her own plan, I would have walked away before she got close enough to take anything. But betrayal works best when it grows in the shadows of trust. And I trusted her. Too much. Now, when I think back on those early days, the coffee shops, the conversations, the laughter, I can see the cracks forming. Little things I brushed off. Little moments that didn't feel important at the time. Little pieces of a puzzle I didn't realize she was putting together. She wasn't just my friend. She was preparing to be my competitor, my replacement, my silent enemy wearing a friendly smile. But of course, I didn't know that then. To me, she was just Alyssa, my closest friend, my sounding board, my confidant, the person I believed would never hurt me. Funny how wrong we can be about people. And that is how our friendship began. Not with lies, not with anger, not with conflict. It began with warmth, connection, trust. The perfect foundation for a betrayal deep enough to change everything. Betrayal never arrives as a storm. It starts as a breeze. Gentle, almost invisible, brushing past you in ways you barely notice. Only later do you realize those soft winds were warnings. And looking back now, I can see the first signs clearly. But at the time, I didn't want to believe any of them. The first crack began on a night that should have felt normal. Alyssa and I were sitting in my apartment, surrounded by notebooks, snack wrappers, and empty coffee cups. We'd been brainstorming for hours. Or at least, I had. She spent most of the evening nodding, asking questions, and typing on her phone far more than usual. She kept saying it was work stuff, but something about her tone, quick, nervous, guarded, felt off. I remember glancing at her screen once, not snooping, just a curious habit. I saw a message open, not the words, just the interface. And it wasn't a friend, it wasn't family. It looked like a business chat, multiple names, a structured list, something formal.
But when she noticed me looking, she tilted her phone away a little too fast and said, my sister won't stop texting me. Her voice had a sharpness to it that wasn't usually there. A small flag went up in my mind, not even red, more like pale orange. I let it go. She was my friend. Why would she lie? Another sign came a week later. We were at our favorite coffee shop again. I had just finished explaining a new idea, a twist that made my concept stronger, smarter, more unique. It was something I had been working on in private for days. She listened closely, nodding slowly, too slowly. Then she asked, "Can you send me everything you just wrote? I want to look at it later." Harmless question, right? Friends help each other. Friends share ideas. But something in her voice felt tight. Not excited, not curious, more like someone trying to memorize every detail. That orange flag turned a little darker. I asked, half joking, "Why? You don't even like this type of project." She gave a quick laugh, too quick, and said, "I just want to help you think it through. You trust me, right?" I did. Or I thought I did. So I sent it. I didn't know then that I had just handed her the final piece she needed. But the biggest sign, the one I still remember in painful detail, happened during a small gathering with a few mutual friends. We were all sitting in someone's living room, chatting about work, life, and random things. The conversation eventually drifted toward personal goals. Someone asked me about my project. Before I could even answer, Alyssa stepped in. She spoke confidently, describing my idea with a level of detail that made everyone stare at her instead of me. She didn't say it was hers, not yet, but she talked about it like she had built half of it herself. "And the plan is to launch soon," she added, glancing at me with a strange smile. Launch? I had never said anything about launching soon. I was still refining things, still planning, still making sure everything was right. I pulled her aside later and whispered, "Why did you say that? I'm not launching yet." She brushed me off with a laugh. "Oh, relax, it's just something to motivate you. You need a push." Her words sounded supportive, but her eyes didn't. Her eyes looked calculating. And that's when I felt it, a small twist in my stomach, a quiet whisper. Something is wrong. But just like before, I ignored it. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself she was being enthusiastic and not controlling. I told myself we were a team. I told myself everything except the truth. The signs kept growing. She started asking for copies of my files just to keep them safe, she claimed. She wanted access to my research so she could double-check things. She wanted to read every update because she cared. And still, I shared. Because she was my friend. Because she had been there from the beginning. Because I trusted her so much it blinded me. But then something happened that I couldn't brush off. One day, while I was talking about a new marketing angle I was excited about, she interrupted me and said, I think I'm the one who actually came up with that idea. I froze. I stared at her, trying to understand if she was joking. She wasn't. Her face was calm, confident, almost rehearsed. I said softly, "No, I'm pretty sure I told you that last week." She shrugged. "Well, maybe you did, but I remember suggesting it too. But whatever, it doesn't matter. We're in this together, right?" Together. She kept using that word, but it didn't feel like together anymore. It felt like she was slowly rewriting the story, turning my idea into our idea, turning my work into shared work, turning my dream into something she had a claim on. She wasn't stealing, not yet, but she was preparing the ground, setting the stage. And still I held on. Still I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Still I chose friendship over instinct. Until the night that changed everything. I was scrolling on my phone when I came across a post, one she didn't intend for me to see. It was a picture of her laptop open to a planning document. The caption said, "Late night grind on something big."
I was still refining things, still planning, still making sure everything was right. I pulled her aside later and whispered, "Why did you say that? I'm not launching yet." She brushed me off with a laugh. "Oh, relax. It's just something to motivate you. You need a push." Her words sounded supportive, but her eyes didn't. Her eyes looked calculating. And that's when I felt it. A small twist in my stomach. A quiet whisper. Something is wrong. But, just like before, I ignored it. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself she was being enthusiastic, not controlling. I told myself we were a team. I told myself everything except the truth. The signs kept growing. She started asking for copies of my files, just to keep them safe, she claimed. She wanted access to my research, so she could double-check things. She wanted to read every update, because she cared. And still, I shared. Because she was my friend. Because she had been there from the beginning. Because I trusted her so much, it blinded me. But then something happened that I couldn't brush off. One day, while I was scrolling on my phone, I came across a post, one she didn't intend for me to see. It was a picture of her laptop open to a planning document. The caption said, "Late night grind on something big." But it wasn't the caption that made my chest tighten. It was the text, visible on the screen. Blurred, yes, but not blurred enough. I recognized the structure, the headings, the layout. It was my idea, my structure, my formatting, my concept. But the file was labeled with her name, not mine. She deleted the post minutes later. Maybe she panicked, maybe she realized she posted the wrong thing. But the screenshot stayed burned in my mind. That was the moment the orange flag turned red. The moment I realized this wasn't miscommunication, this wasn't a misunderstanding, this wasn't shared excitement. This was preparation for something I couldn't yet see, but could definitely feel. Something bigger, something sharper, something
that would soon reveal itself. And that was when I knew the first betrayal had already begun. There are moments in life you don't realize are life-changing. Not until much later, when you look back and see how everything shifted around them. For me, that moment was the night I came up with the final version of my idea. The version that made everything sharper, clearer, more powerful. It was the idea that should have changed my life. Instead, it woke up the part of Alyssa I had never seen before. The part that wasn't a friend. The part that wasn't cheering for me. The part that had been waiting, quietly, for the perfect moment to take what wasn't hers. I remember the night vividly. It was nearly 2 a.m. My apartment lights were dim, and the only sound was the soft tapping of my keyboard and the hum of my old desk fan. I had spent weeks researching, planning, brainstorming, and doubting myself. But suddenly, in that late night quiet, everything clicked. The idea came together like puzzle pieces snapping into place. The target audience, the concept, the unique twist that would make it stand out, the plan of execution. For the first time in months, I felt something warm inside me. Excitement. Hope. The kind that makes your heart race a little faster. I whispered to myself, half laughing, "This is it. This is the one." And because Alyssa had always been the person I shared everything with, my first instinct was to tell her. She was my friend, after all. She was the person who had always said she believed in me. The person who listened to every version of the idea, no matter how messy. So I texted her. I finally figured it out. I think this is the version that works. Almost instantly, she replied. She never replied instantly. Call me. 2 words. No emojis, no exclamation points. Just an abrupt, urgent command. I didn't see it as strange at the time. I was too excited to care. So I called. When she picked up, her voice sounded different. Calm, but not the sleepy calm you'd expect from someone answering a call at 2 in the morning. More alert. Too alert. "What's the idea?" she asked immediately. No, "Hey, what's up?" No, "Wow, you sound excited." Just straight to business. Still, I didn't think much of it. I dove into the explanation, telling her every detail, the concept, the structure, the strategy, the message behind it, the new angle that made it special. As I talked, I expected the usual. Her gasps, her excited comments, her supportive chatter. But this time, she was quiet. Not silent. Quiet. She was listening in a way that felt more like studying. Like she was analyzing every piece I was giving her. I should have noticed then. I should have paid attention. But I was too caught up in the thrill of creating something meaningful. When I finally finished, I asked breathlessly, "So, what do you think?" There was a pause. A long one. Then she said, slowly, almost too slowly. That's really good. Her voice had no joy in it, no excitement. It sounded flat, heavy. But I convinced myself she was just tired or overwhelmed or deep in thought. I didn't know the truth yet. That she had just realized how valuable my idea really was. And that realization changed everything. The next day, Alyssa showed up to my apartment and announced. She never did that, especially not in the mornings. She walked in with coffee, wearing a bright smile, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I've been thinking about your idea all night, like really thinking. I raised an eyebrow. That's good, right? She nodded quickly. Yes, but I think you should move faster, like way faster, before someone else does. Her urgency felt strange. It wasn't excitement. It was tension. I asked jokingly, "Why are you acting like we're in a race?" Her smile tightened. We are. You just don't see it. I laughed it off, thinking she was being dramatic. But she wasn't joking. Not even a little. Over the next few days, she changed. Subtly at first. She suddenly wanted to be involved in every part of the project. Every file, every update, every thought. Show me your notes. Send me that draft. Let me look at your outline. I want to check something. I have a better way of phrasing that. Can you share the full plan with me? I need all the pieces. She said it was because she believed in the idea, because she wanted to help, because she cared. But in reality, she was collecting, studying, learning every detail she needed. And the more I shared, the more she asked. The more I explained, the more she took. But I didn't see it then. I didn't see what she was building behind my back. Then came the moment everything shifted. We were sitting in my apartment again, going over the idea for the 100th time, when she suddenly said, "I think we should pitch this to people, like now." "We?" I repeated, confused. She shrugged casually, too casually. "Well, yeah, I've helped you so much. It feels like a joint thing at this point." The room fell quiet, not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Direct, confident, entitled. Like she had planted a flag in something that wasn't hers. I forced a laugh. "But it's my idea. I mean, I've been working on this for months." She tilted her head. "I know, but I've been there for every step, so it kind of belongs to both of us, right?" There it was. The first time she tried to claim it openly. A slow, cold feeling crept up my spine. I said firmly, "It doesn't work like that." For a moment, something flashed in her eyes, something sharp, something hungry. But she smiled and said, "You're right, sorry, I didn't mean it that way." But she did mean it that way. That was the moment I realized she didn't see herself as my helper or my supporter or my friend. She saw herself as my equal partner.
in something she didn't create, something she didn't build, something she didn't earn. She wanted the idea. She wanted the credit. She wanted the recognition. And when she realized I wouldn't hand it to her, she decided she would take it. At the time, I didn't know how far she would go. I didn't know she was already preparing a version behind my back. I didn't know she was saving everything I sent her. I didn't know she was rewriting my notes in her own words. I didn't know she had been reaching out to people privately. But I could feel something shifting, something wrong, something dangerous. And I didn't listen to that instinct. Because she was my friend, because I trusted her, because I believed her loyalty matched mine. But I was wrong. This was the idea that changed everything, not because it was brilliant, but because it revealed who she truly was. And it was only the beginning. There's a certain kind of silence that comes before betrayal, a quietness that feels harmless until you realize what was happening behind it, a stillness that hides movement, a calm that covers someone else's storm. That silence surrounded Alyssa long before I realized she was taking what wasn't hers. And by the time I finally understood what she was doing, she had already taken more than I thought possible. It started subtly, a shift so small I almost missed it. Alyssa wasn't just asking questions anymore. She was digging. Not curious digging, strategic digging. She wanted to know every detail of my idea, every outline, every version of the version, every change I made, every doubt I had. She collected those pieces like someone preparing for a test I didn't know she was taking behind my back. And the more I noticed, the more uncomfortable I became. But every time I tried to pull back, she tightened her grip. Why are you acting weird? Why are you being secretive? You trust me, right? And just like that, she turned my hesitation into guilt. She made me feel like I was the one causing a problem. That's the thing about people like her. They make you doubt your instinct until they've already taken what they came for. One day, she messaged me saying she had a big surprise. "Come over," she said. "Something exciting happened." I didn't think much of it. Maybe she got a new job. Maybe something good happened with her family. Maybe she wanted to celebrate something. But when I walked into her apartment, something felt strange immediately. Her laptop was open on the kitchen island. Her notes, pages of them, were scattered across the counter. And there, in bold letters on her screen, I saw a document title that made my stomach twist. Project Launch Outline. AL. Her initials. Not mine. I froze, staring at the screen for a few seconds before she quickly closed the laptop as if she didn't want me to see it. My chest felt tight. I forced out a calm voice. "What was that?" She smiled, an overly sweet, rehearsed smile. "Oh, nothing. Just something I'm working on." "Your own project?" I asked slowly. She nodded too fast. "Yeah, totally unrelated to yours. Don't worry." But I was worried because the layout, even the little bit I saw, looked uncomfortably similar to mine.
Not identical, but close enough to make me feel sick. She walked past me, changed the subject, offered snacks, acted like everything was normal. But everything inside me knew it wasn't. Something was happening behind my back, something she didn't want me to see. And that document, even glimpsed for only 1 second, was the proof. But the day I knew for certain, The day she crossed the line came later. It was late afternoon. I was at home, finishing a revised outline of my idea, the most polished version I had ever made. It took hours to refine. It was the heart of the entire concept, the piece no one else had ever seen, not even Alyssa. I hadn't shared it. Not a line, not a screenshot, not a hint. Not yet. My plan was to show her later, once I felt more confident in it. A gift of trust, because she'd been there since the beginning. But before it got the chance, something strange happened. My phone buzzed with the notification. It was a post from an industry page we both followed. They were highlighting a promising new concept. The description sounded familiar. Too familiar. My heart thudded as I read it again. It wasn't exact, not word for word, but the structure, the angle, the unique twist, they were nearly identical to my updated idea. The same idea I had not shared with anyone. The same idea that existed only in a file on my laptop. I felt my throat tighten. Who else knew? Who else had access? Who else could even guess what I was working on? And then it hit me. Alyssa had used my laptop 2 nights earlier when her phone died. She sat at my desk. I was making us food. She could have easily plugged in her USB, copied files, taken pictures, anything. My stomach dropped. My hands shook as I scrolled down the post. At the bottom, it said, "Submitted anonymously." Anonymous. Cowardly. Calculated. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't two people thinking alike. This was her taking what she wanted, what I built, what I created alone. And she was testing how far she could go with it. Testing if she could get attention, testing if she could claim a piece of something she didn't make. She'd taken my idea, the version she wasn't even supposed to know about, and she was trying it out for herself, to see if the world liked it. And they did. The post had likes, comments, people praising the concept. My concept. I stared at the screen, feeling my heartbeat in my ears. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't understand how someone I trusted so deeply, someone I called a friend, could be planning something like this behind my back. When I confronted her, and yes, I confronted her that night, she didn't panic. She didn't apologize. She didn't deny it. She simply tilted her head, shrugged, and said, "It's not like you were using it yet." That one cold, selfish sentence broke something in me. Not my idea, not my project, not my confidence, but my trust. The trust I had built over years. The trust I gave freely, blindly, loyally, gone in one moment. I stared at her, this person I thought I knew, and saw someone entirely different. Someone who wasn't my friend. Someone who didn't care. Someone who thought she could take whatever she wanted simply because she had been close enough to reach it. And that was the moment I realized. She wasn't just taking my idea. She was taking ownership, control, credit, everything. And she wasn't done. Not even close. Because while I was still reeling from that anonymous post, she was already working on something bigger, something public, something permanent, something that would push me out of my own dream, unless I stopped her. She had taken the first piece, but she was about to take everything. And I had no idea how far she was willing to go. Sometimes the breaking point isn't a single moment. Sometimes it's a slow, quiet erosion of trust, patience, and hope. A constant drip that wears you down until one day you snap. For me, that day came sooner than I ever imagined. After discovering that Alyssa had taken my idea and even tested it publicly, I thought I could salvage something. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she didn't realize how far she had gone. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to fix it. But the universe has a cruel way of showing you the truth when you're still hoping for a lie. It started with small signs, little reminders that she wasn't done. Not satisfied with taking my idea, she began creating her own version, improving on it with everything I had unknowingly given her. She didn't consult me. She didn't mention my name. She didn't even hit at collaboration. Instead, she acted like the brilliant originator of everything I had spent months building. And the worst part? People believed her. The world believed her. At first, I tried to reason with myself. It's just one project, I told myself. I'll create another, I'll be better, I'll come up with something stronger. But the deeper I sunk into trying to ignore it, the more I realized how much she had infiltrated every corner of my life. Emails I sent her in confidence became suggestions she shared publicly. Our mutual contacts were suddenly praising her, asking for guidance, asking for advice. Her advice. She had positioned herself as the face of my creation, the one everyone turned to, and I was invisible. That's when the breaking point hit me. It was a Friday night. I was sitting in my apartment, laptop open, staring at the latest iteration of what was supposed to be my project. Every detail she had refined, every concept polished, every flaw corrected by her. And it was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful, because it was mine, but it wasn't mine anymore. I felt a cold rage creeping up, coiling around my chest like a living thing. Every breath I took felt heavy. Every heartbeat drummed louder. I couldn't take it. I couldn't sit there and let her continue to take what I had built, what I had poured my soul into, what I had dreamed about night after night, hoping, praying, working. I grabbed my phone. My fingers hovered over her contact. I typed a message, then deleted it, then typed it again. Why did you do it? Why are you taking everything from me? I trusted you. I hit send. The silence afterwards was deafening. Then she replied, "You wouldn't understand. You never would." It wasn't just a message. It was a challenge, a declaration, a line in the sand. And in that moment, I realized the person I thought I knew, the person I had trusted, the person I had called a friend was gone. replaced by someone I barely recognized, someone willing to take, manipulate, and outshine me without a second thought. I could no longer hold back the truth of how I felt. The heartbreak, the anger, the betrayal, all of it surged forward, unstoppable. I didn't just want to confront her, I wanted the world to know. I wanted her to see the damage she had caused. I wanted justice. The confrontation came the next day. I went to her apartment, knocked on the door, and when she opened it, that same smile, the one that had haunted me, greeted me. I didn't say hello. I didn't ask how she was. I walked in and said, flatly, "We need to talk. Now." She raised an eyebrow, calm, unbothered. "You always sound so dramatic," she said. Her voice had that same cold, measured tone I had come to fear. I stepped closer. "Dramatic? No. I'm done pretending. I'm done letting you take what isn't yours. I trusted you. I believed in you. And you've destroyed everything." Her face didn't change. Her smile didn't falter. "Destroyed," she repeated. "Or maybe you just weren't ready for it." My chest tightened. Every word she said cut deeper than I could have imagined, and in that moment, I realized the depth of the betrayal. It wasn't just taking an idea. It was taking control, taking credit, taking everything I had hoped would be mine. I felt a fire ignite inside of me, a fire I hadn't felt before. Enough. I told her everything, every detail of how I had discovered her plan, how she had copied, how she had taken my idea publicly, how she had lied to everyone. I don't think she expected me to confront her. Her expression shifted slightly, a flicker of surprise, but it didn't last. Piece by piece, I started building a timeline of trust, a timeline of betrayal, a timeline that showed clearly how she slowly, quietly absorbed my idea until she could present it as her own. I didn't know I had so much evidence, not because I meant to keep it, but because betrayal leaves breadcrumbs, and she had left plenty. Her messages were the worst to read. The friendly ones hurt. The pretending ones hurt more. But the calculated ones, those burned. Like the ones where she asked, "Can you send me that again?" Or, "What was the part about customer strategy?" Or, "Remind me how you planned a launch?" At the time, I thought she was supportive, helpful, interested. Now I saw the truth. She wasn't learning. She was collecting. The second step was harder. Find her weakness. No revenge works without it. No justice lands without it. And Alyssa had plenty of weaknesses. She loved recognition. She loved attention. She loved being the hero in every room. She loved credit, even when it wasn't hers. And above all, she cared more about her reputation than anything else. If I wanted to stop her, I didn't need to hurt her. I just needed to show the world who she really was. But that meant being smart, careful, strategic. I couldn't confront her again. She would only lie, twist, deny, pretend. I needed something she couldn't argue with, something bigger than her, something public. But not reckless, not cruel, just honest. The truth presented clearly enough would undo everything she built on my idea. I just had to make sure the right people saw it. The third step required patience, quiet distance. For the first time since our friendship began, I stopped responding quickly. I stopped sharing updates. I stopped entertaining her guilt-filled messages. I stopped explaining myself. I let her sit in silence, wondering what I was doing, wondering why I had stopped talking, wondering if I had given up. She had no idea silence was my strongest weapon now. Silence made her comfortable. Silence made her careless. Silence made her assume that I had accepted defeat. While she relaxed, I moved quietly. I contacted the people she had impressed with her idea. I asked innocent questions. I confirmed what she had told them. And every time they answered, my stomach twisted tighter. She had lied about everything. How long she had been working on it, where the inspiration came from, even her qualifications. But the best part? She left a digital trail. She always did. Screenshots, posts, emails, tiny mistakes, contradictions she never expected anyone to piece together. But I did, and the truth was piling up fast. The fourth step was the heart of the plan. Reclaim the idea publicly, not by attacking her, not by naming her, not by looking desperate or bitter. No, I would relaunch my idea as if her interference never existed. I would present my work boldly, confidently, and with every timestamp, every draft, every step documented. Authenticity speaks louder than liars. I would create a polished presentation. I would share the original timeline. I would show the evolution of the idea from the beginning, long before she ever touched it. No accusations, no drama. Just the truth. But the real twist? I would present it to the exact same audience she wanted to impress. The same people she tried so hard to win over. Because nothing hurts a thief more than the creator standing up, shining brighter, and showing the world the original masterpiece, untouched, undeniable, and their own. She could copy a project, but she couldn't copy passion. She couldn't fake authenticity.
She couldn't steal the voice behind the idea, and that would be her downfall. The final step, the one that would change everything, let her expose herself. I didn't need to attack her. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to defend myself. People like her always make the same mistake. They push too far. When my project went public, with proof, with clarity, with honesty, she would panic. She would scramble. She would try to explain. And in doing so, she would reveal exactly what she had done. Her lies would contradict each other. Her timeline would crumble. Her confidence would crack. And everyone would see it. All I had to do was release the truth and let her ego do the rest. That was the beauty of the plan. I didn't have to destroy her. She would destroy herself. And as I sat back, staring at my completed plan, a blueprint of justice, a design of truth, a quiet but powerful response to everything she stole, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control, strength, clarity. This wasn't just revenge. This was reclaiming my story, my work, my voice, my future. She took what wasn't hers. Now I was taking it back. And the best part? She didn't see any of it coming. The day I decided to act, I woke up earlier than usual. There's a strange calm that comes before a storm, a quiet, steady determination that fills every inch of your mind. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry. I was ready. Months of planning, collecting evidence, strategizing, it all came down to this. I opened my laptop, stared at the final draft one last time. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every message she had sent, every subtle proof of her copying, all neatly arranged, crystal clear. This wasn't just about proving her guilt. It was about reclaiming what was mine. It was about showing the world who I really was. And it was about letting her see the consequences of betrayal.
I started slow. I sent my polished presentation to a few key people she had most recently impressed, people who had no idea she had taken the work from me. The first response came faster than I expected. They were shocked. They were apologetic. They were finally seeing the pieces fall into place. And most importantly, they asked questions that she couldn't answer because she had no proof. While they processed the truth, I went public. I uploaded the full story, the complete timeline, to platforms where she had boasted, where she had gained followers, where her success had been celebrated. No shouting, no name-calling, no dramatics, just facts, evidence, the truth, presented so clearly that it couldn't be ignored. And then I waited. The first crack came sooner than I expected. A friend of hers, someone she trusted implicitly, reached out. Are you okay? Do you realize what's happening? Messages that were polite on the surface, but carried panic underneath. And then came the emails from collaborators once loyal to her. Can you clarify this? This doesn't match what we were told. Can you explain the original source? Every question, every doubt chipped away at her carefully built facade. I watched as she tried to respond publicly, with explanations, with excuses, with the same charm she had always relied on. But it was too late. Her explanations contradicted each other. Her timeline didn't make sense. Her lies were unraveling in real time, and I didn't have to lift a finger. She became frantic. The calm, confident, untouchable person I had once known was gone. In her place was anxiety, confusion, and desperation. I received screenshots from mutual contacts, whispers of disbelief. Wait, so she didn't create this? Everything she said about it was false? Why didn't she mention your work? It was intoxicating. The feeling wasn't about revenge in the shallow sense. It was about justice. It was about seeing truth overcome deception. It was about witnessing someone finally facing the consequences of their actions. And Alyssa? She was watching it all happen too. I knew because she tried to reach out. Her messages flooded in, frantic, apologetic, manipulative, pleading. Please, we can talk. I didn't mean to. You don't understand the situation. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Silence had been my strongest ally from the very beginning. Every message she sent now was another piece of evidence for those who had doubted me. Every frantic plea she made, every lie she tried to spin only confirmed the truth I had already laid out. The climax of the execution came during a live virtual presentation I had arranged for a small group, people who mattered, people whose opinions shaped others, people who would see the facts firsthand. I presented everything: the original notes, the drafts, the emails, the timeline of events. I spoke calmly, steadily, clearly. No emotion but precision. No anger but undeniable authority. And as the final slides were displayed, showing her actions side by side with my work, there was a pause. A long, heavy silence. And then, questions. Questions she couldn't answer. Questions she couldn't spin. People looked to her, waiting. She tried to explain. She stammered. She backtracked. She made the tiniest misstep, and it was enough. Because now, everyone could see the truth. Her empire of lies crumbling before their eyes. By the end of the day, everything had shifted. Alyssa was no longer untouchable. Her influence waned. Her credibility shattered. People who once admired her now questioned everything she had ever claimed. And me, I was finally free. Free of betrayal, free of manipulation, free to continue building, creating, and growing without the shadow of someone else stealing my light. But the most powerful moment came not from the reactions of others, but from the quiet, private reflection I had that night. I realized that revenge isn't just about proving someone wrong. It's not about hurting them or making them feel what they made you feel. It's about reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your confidence, reclaiming your story. And that's exactly what I did. Alyssa never apologized. She never admitted her mistakes. But it didn't matter. I had the truth. I had the evidence. I had my life back. And the world finally saw what I had always known. I was the creator, the originator, the one with vision and integrity. That's the power of patience, strategy, and quiet determination. The power of reclaiming control without stooping to bitterness.
The power of letting the truth speak louder than lies ever could. And in the aftermath, I learned something more valuable than any project, any recognition, any victory. Betrayal can break you, but it can also awaken a strength you never knew you had. And when that strength meets strategy, even the most confident betrayer unravels. After the storm, there's always a calm, a stillness that feels strange after months of chaos, tension, and betrayal. For me, that calm didn't come immediately. It came slowly, in pieces, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a long, relentless storm. Alyssa's betrayal had left scars, not physical, of course, but the kind that linger in your mind and heart. The kind that makes you second-guess people you once trusted. The kind that makes you wonder if you'll ever let someone in again. But it also left a lesson, the kind you can't ignore. The first lesson was clarity. Trust is precious, but evidence is priceless. I realized that trust alone is never enough. People can betray you despite all your faith, despite all your kindness. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But by keeping records, documenting every step of your work, and staying organized, you arm yourself not out of suspicion, but out of self-respect. I had trusted her. I had believed in our friendship. I shared my heart, my ideas, my energy. And yes, she took advantage. But because I had kept evidence, I didn't just survive. I reclaimed what was mine. The second lesson was about boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your life or ideas. Before this betrayal, I had blurred the lines between friendship and collaboration. I shared too much, too soon. I assumed loyalty was automatic. Now I understand the importance of discernment, of protecting your creative energy, of giving trust, but not unlimited access. It's not cynicism, it's wisdom. And wisdom is a shield more powerful than anger ever could be. The third lesson was patience. Justice often comes quietly, not with a loud confrontation. I didn't scream at her. I didn't publicly attack her. I didn't give in to the temptation of immediate revenge. I planned it. I waited. I acted at the perfect time. And in doing so, the truth revealed itself in the most undeniable way possible. Sometimes letting time work in your favor is the strongest form of revenge, because it doesn't just expose the betrayer, it elevates you. You walk away with dignity, clarity, and proof that integrity always wins in the long run. The fourth lesson was about self-worth. Your value is never diminished by someone else's greed. She tried to take my idea, my creativity, my effort. She tried to convince others it belonged to her. For a moment, I questioned myself. I wondered if I was being dramatic. I doubted if I had been careful enough. But after everything unfolded, I realized something profound. No one can erase your talent, your vision, or the energy you put into creating. They can try, they can lie, they can manipulate. But in the end, truth shines brighter than any lie.
And your own conviction is the most unshakable proof of your worth. The fifth lesson was about forgiveness, though not in the way most people think. Forgiveness isn't about excusing betrayal. It's about freeing yourself. I didn't forgive her immediately, and I may never fully forgive her in the traditional sense. But I stopped letting her actions control my emotions. I stopped letting her deceit dictate my choices. I stopped replaying her betrayal in my mind. Forgiveness, I realized, is an act of self-liberation. It's deciding that your energy is more valuable than harboring resentment. It's reclaiming your peace. Moving forward, I had to rebuild, but not from scratch. I had grown stronger, wiser, more cautious, but also more confident. I reconnected with my passions. I invested time in projects that truly mattered to me. I surrounded myself with people who were trustworthy, not because they promised loyalty, but because their actions consistently reflected integrity. And I became more mindful, more strategic, more deliberate. Every collaboration now has boundaries. Every friendship now has clarity. Every idea now has protection. And most importantly, I no longer feared betrayal. Because I learned that betrayal is not the end of a story. It's a lesson. A harsh, painful lesson, yes, but one that teaches resilience, strength, and self-respect. The aftermath also taught me about perspective. Life doesn't just balance the scales. It teaches you how to hold them. When we are young or naive, betrayal feels like the end of the world. It feels like a personal failure. It feels like the universe has conspired against you. But in reality, betrayal is a teacher, a mirror showing you where boundaries were crossed, a signal to adjust, adapt, and grow. I realized that without this experience, I might not have ever become the version of myself capable of handling complex challenges with clarity, confidence, and calm. In a strange way, her betrayal became my catalyst for growth. So as I look back, I see the full picture now. Alyssa took what wasn't hers. She tried to claim credit for something she didn't create. She thought she could outsmart me. But in the process, she revealed my own strength, my perseverance, my intelligence, my integrity. I didn't just survive her betrayal. I outgrew it. I reclaimed my ideas, my voice, and my story. And I discovered a version of myself I didn't know existed. Someone capable of strategy, patience, and emotional mastery. The truth, I learned, is the ultimate liberator. And when combined with wisdom and courage, it becomes unstoppable. Today, I move forward with clarity, not bitterness. I invest in relationships that are reciprocal. I nurture creativity that is protected but unafraid. I pursue dreams boldly, knowing that no one can steal my essence. And when I reflect on that painful chapter, I don't see a betrayal anymore. I see a turning point, A moment that forced me to grow, to strategize, to reclaim. Because in the end, life is not about what others take from you. It's about what you do with what you still have. Your voice, your ideas, your integrity. And I will never let anyone take that from me again.